Welcome to the Goatee Sports Page. Coming to you live from the Bluetick Tavern in Maryville and 105.1 FM. Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Bringing you the best in local sports since 1978. Featuring the Greenfield Gunner, Mike Edwards. Former Maryville Scot, Donnie Moore. Former UT coach, Ray Trail. From the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons. And Troy Provo Heron.
Make the big play with MVP Money Tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early. Credit card.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore, Troy Provo Heron, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Ray Trail. And this is the Goatee Sports Page. LSU and Connecticut claim women's and men's NCAA basketball championships, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card, sponsored by Blunt Partnership. It's the University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Klein Dental Arts SEC Notebook, with volunteer football coaching legend Ray Trail, Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo Heron, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons. Today we'll weigh in on spring football practice at UT. Donnie Moore will announce high school scores from around the area, and then mark it down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features Maryville High School soccer. The Anderson Lumber Company High School Player of the Week segment will be on the docket. Donnie Moore and the panel discuss sports headlines from around the country before the Tennessee Smoky Spotlight shines on the NCAA basketball championship games. And finally, the panel gives their shelter insurance bold predictions for the week. UT, Jeremy Pruitt, and the NCAA to meet in Cincinnati. And now it's time for the UT Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Klein Dental Arts SEC Notebook, featuring former UT assistant football coach Ray Trail, Daily Times sports editor Troy Provo Heron, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons. And Donnie Moore. Donnie, how are you
here.
doing?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, the Tennessee football team has been going through spring football workouts the last couple of weeks, and will wrap up their drills next Saturday with the annual orange and white game. And Coach Trail, I hope they have better weather than they're having out there this morning.
Ooh, yeah.
For that.
Well, they can work on their running game.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You may play a game in the rain. You know.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to prepare.
Yeah.
Got to get ready for it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they'll have some good weather for that, and they'll have a good turnout. Practices and scrimmages have been closed to the media, so about all that can be assessed is what head coach Josh Heupel has been saying, and that leads me to my first question, and I'm going to hit you with it, Marcus. Why is the media banned from practices and scrimmages? What's the purpose of that? You think they would let them in maybe for a scrimmage or two, or maybe a practice or two? What's that all about?
Well, we had such stability for so long when we went from Johnny to Phil. The media knew what to expect and what the policies were going to be. Since then, we've had this array of coaches, and every time we change coaches, we change policy on what it is with practice. And we've had just about as many SIDs over there. And when they come in, sometimes they get with the coach and change policy. So basically it's become a year-to-year, well, guess what we're going to do this spring?
Yeah.
We've been here before. A couple times we've been, you've got 10 minutes at the beginning of practice you can watch, and the rest of it's going to be done in secret. And you just have to sit in the room in the practice center and wait for players to show up in an hour or two. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people out there, I think, who still really care enough about practice to know what's going on day to day.
Yep.
But most of us have figured out whatever happens in spring practice, all you can get is a sense. You're not going to identify who's going to be this or that in spring practice from the media perspective, because you don't know what the coaches are going to tell you, honestly or not.
Yeah. Coach Trail, back in the good old days, go back to the good old days every once in a while back in the early 70s there at Tennessee, and you were over there. Coach Mears, he always had the media come to practice. He had Ben Bird and Marvin West were almost at every practice we had. And you remember Marvin, we called him Scoop.
Yep.
Because he was always looking for a scoop.
That's right.
And you'd be practicing out there, and he'd see somebody throw a towel in practice, or somebody player kick a chair over, or somebody getting chewed out. And after practice, Marvin would start talking to you, or he'd call you at the dorm. I saw where you was upset at practice, and boy, you'd have to be real careful, or you'd be in the headlines the next day, huh? About kicking a chair over or whatever. Had to be a little careful back then, didn't you? Huh?
But I felt like Marvin and Ben Bird and those guys were Ed Harris.
Right.
Guys were just
Tom Seiler.
Tom Seiler. They were part of the group.
Yeah, they're part of the family.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I looked at it. And they would say, you want to say anything about this? Or, and he would ask you questions.
Right.
And they didn't just take it for granted and write it.
Yeah.
And these guys today looking for a hit with something.
I guess.
Anything that attracts attention.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's all they want to write
Yeah,
about.
and everybody understood that, well, if you're winning, they're going to write some really good things about you. And if you're not winning,
that's right,
they're going to write some things you're not going to like too well.
Exactly.
But the coaching staff would take those and say, well, how's it feel?
Yeah.
To lose a few games, and they'd build on it, you see.
Yeah.
But it seems now that everything's more of a secret.
In that day, Ben especially, because he's one of those guys that I have some overlap with, and I got to have conversations with. They were writing to sell the paper. They were writing to sell the Journal and the Sentinel. Yeah. And they were writing to sell when it came out. They both took it. The whole group took advantage of. If you were the first one out in the morning, well, you were the first one out with the game score from last night. But if you were the afternoon, well, you get a couple comments in there that they didn't get into the morning
Exactly.
edition.
Exactly.
But now you're writing for the internet. They're writing for hits. They're writing. Everybody wants to be first. Everybody wants to seem like they know. And if they can't, they want to provide something entertaining and possibly, borderline funny. I don't think they really any of them get there.
Yeah, they're no Louis Gazards
on these fluff pieces. But, back then you had 3 or 4, maybe 5 gaggling around. Now you got like 30 gaggling around, and they're all trying to put money in the pocket.
Yeah, I remember. We go back to Marvin West and Ben Bird. Marvin was quick to jump the gun about stuff. And, he was always looking for a story. Mm-hmm. But, if Ben Bird wrote something serious about your program and when it got to that point, you were in trouble. He was almost, to me, like the Walter Cronkite over the deal, more of a level head type deal. And if he wrote, well, this program's really going down or whatever, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble.
Ben hated to write anything bad.
Yeah.
He really did.
He thought long and hard.
He would always give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, but good reporter though.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Mike, I probably need to go back and explain that for any younger listeners we have out there. Okay, a newspaper is news that comes out on pieces of paper that are stitched together and delivered to your house.
I'm glad you're doing that. And some don't know.
It was very common at one point that there were multiple newspapers in a city. So what we're talking about is when the Knoxville Sentinel and Knoxville Journal both put out a paper each day, and one came out in the morning and one came out after lunch.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that I know that may seem foreign to people who only look at their phones for information.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk a little bit about this football team. It's a much more talented and a deeper team that we've seen over here in the spring in the past couple of years. And
how do you know that?
Well, I know that. I feel it. I've not been over there. Nobody else has either. But
that's what I was thinking.
I feel it. We got a lot of momentum going here.
I see. Okay.
And of course, we had a lot of momentum going in baseball, but that's being the question right now. But anyway, I think with this, they got a lot more to work with. What I'm trying to say, they got deeper people in positions. They got some of these new guys that's come in out of high school that's enrolled early. They got some people from the transfer portal. They got more bodies over there to work with, Coach, and can get, I think, more done than they've done in the past. But they got more going for them. What are they trying to get done this spring? You know, with a little different situation. I mean, in the past it was like, hey, we just got to patchwork some things together here, make some decisions on different players, moving people around. Don't have as much of that right now.
I tell you what, the thing that spring practice to me, and it was for a long time when I was over there. In spring practice was the basics, is what you were trying, because after the season starts, you don't have time to work hard on the basics. It's either you got them or you don't have them, because I mean you don't have time to go 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 and stuff like that after the season starts, and then you're also trying to keep from getting anybody hurt for the first game. But to me, spring practice is about finding out who really wants to play, and I was never a big giver of accolades in spring practice. I just thought that was unnecessary, to single out people that tell, this guy's doing great, things change overnight. But the enthusiasm of one-on-one and two-on-two, and I mean that used to be a big thing, 3-on-3, but that's where you work on your very basic things. I mean we're not practicing right now to play somebody.
Nope.
All I'm trying to do if I'm coaching the offensive line is work on my linemen with every block that they got to make, and you cannot do that just by running through some few drills and calling it, this or that. You got to work on the basics, very basics. And
what players does spring practice benefit the most?
What players?
What players?
Well, your offensive line should benefit more than anybody.
I understand that, but do players that are just, say, these guys out of high school, are they getting the most benefit out of that? Or is it a guy that's been here that has not played very much? Does he get more out of it?
He does. He knows what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And new guys coming in, they don't know exactly what the end result's going to be, and they don't understand that it's every day is just like a game for you as getting better on your own techniques and simple things. It's not complicated, and the game of football is who wants to play the most.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for. I don't say, well, he's 6'5", he's 300 pounds, and all this. I just want to know who's going to get the job done when the ball is snapped.
Yeah.
I don't care about how many times you've been All-American or hadn't done anything or whatever. I don't care. I just want to know who's going to play today.
Yeah, who's going to get you there.
You're right.
Donnie Moore, I'm going to get you in on this. The Vols finished 11-2 last year with a number 6 ranking at an Orange Bowl victory over Clemson. Best marks since 2001. Going to be a tough act to follow. They've lost Hendon Hooker at quarterback and a receiver and a couple of starting offensive linemen. Those are tough losses on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, they are. They sure are, Mike. I tell you what, Joe Milton is going to be a guy who can step in and I don't want to say fill the shoes of Hendon Hooker, because I'm not sure anybody can at this point. But Joe Milton is a senior. He's going to be able to step in and take control of the offense, and he's got a great arm. I don't know whether he can play situational football as well as Hendon could, but he's a cool character.
Yep.
I think he can do a good job.
Yeah, Marcus, what scares me a little bit about Joe Milton is I don't think there's any way he can replicate what Hendon Hooker did last year, and the success of that Tennessee football team last year was pretty much the way Hendon Hooker went. Yeah. And Hooker last year completed 70% of his passes, threw for 3,137 yards and 27 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, and he also ran for 5 scores. And you're asking Joe Milton, a guy that's been pretty inconsistent. He was consistent in the Orange Bowl, but that's one game. Mm-hmm. That's one game. Sure. But he had
was
good.
Not a good team.
He was at Michigan, and he had some pretty good games up there at Michigan. But then he fell into that inconsistent mold. You know, what are we going to see out of him down here? Are we going to see the more toward the Hendon Hooker? Or are we going to see more toward the Joe Milton of the past at Michigan and when he first started here at Tennessee?
Well, that's going to be interesting. I think that's what everybody wants to know. I mean, we saw when he had the chance to start and did not work out. He didn't get benched. You remember he went out for an injury and never got the job back.
Right.
So now you've got a situation where he's not only lost the starting quarterback that's graduated, and now he's going to be the guy. He lost his roommate too. I mean, that was his roommate. So kind of unusual situation, and now they've got a whole new dynamic to figure out because you've got all this experience sitting in a guy playing his 6th year. Same time, you've got a freshman who is the future, and everybody knows is supposed to be the future, sitting there competing. And then you've got a couple of guys that are kind of hanging around to be there just in case they're needed, which, I mean, in case of Navy Schuler, you appreciate, but, they're not out there battling to be the starter, which is good and bad because they're not pushing that guy either. So I think you hope to see the best when the season comes out there, and you hope to see UT's offense pick right up where it left off in the last 2 games, where it could run the ball and it could throw the ball depending on what you needed to do. But, which one we're going – I mean, are we going to see the guy that completes 50% or 70%, I think is totally a matter of what's going on in his head.
Coach Trail, I'll be absolutely stunned and surprised if we don't see Joe Milton at the start of the season performing really well. I mean, that schedule, Coach, is Candyland. It's Candyland before you get into Florida and Alabama and Georgia and Texas A&M is going to be better. But listen, those games, he's got the job right now pretty much based on what he did in the Orange Bowl.
Right.
If he didn't perform that well in the Orange Bowl, we'd be talking about maybe the kid from California, Nico.
Iamaleava.
Got it. We'd be talking about him a little bit more and what's happening over there between those two guys. But he's kind of solidified his situation by the win down there in the Orange Bowl. Mm-hmm. But I think that going into the season, I think he's going to be more relaxed. He's got the job, and he's got a schedule that's pretty favorable. Now, if he doesn't go through that schedule and look really good and struggles a little bit, then you got to think, well, I'm a little bit concerned about this here.
I think you're exactly right, but I think the situation is going to make him study more than before. I think he'll be more involved studying film, getting the little things. It's the little things that make the quarterback what he is. I tell you what, it's not great things, it's the good things. And that's what he's been through. And I think he'll know how to prepare more than anybody else they got. And I definitely think that he will start the season as the number 1 quarterback. And I think you would be stupid to not do that. And because basically what you might get is he may hang it up, and say, there's no need in me staying here playing behind this guy. And then you're down to 1 quarterback. Yeah. And he's a freshman. Now, they can talk about it all they want to, how great they are and all that, but there's a whole lot to learn in this offense.
You bet. In this day and age.
Yeah, I tell you what.
Yeah,
in this particular offense, there is a whole lot to learn.
Yeah, and it's not like about the old days. Talking about the old days more, where you didn't have you weren't put in there as a freshman to play.
Right.
You had that freshman year to adjust. And then your sophomore, coming into sophomore, you got that year under your belt. You've learned the system. You're kind of ready. Now you're just kind of thrown in there. And, you got to perform or not. So.
And that's a bad situation right there. Yeah. I tell you what. Now, if this guy stumps his toe here early, and does not perform, I don't care if it was Joe Namath. I would say you're in trouble.
Right.
You know, if
Yeah,
you're going to play a freshman,
I'll just be shocked if he doesn't get off to a good start. With
Oh,
I mean, they
think he
set
will.
the deal up where, you know, they scheduled Virginia over here. They paid
Yeah.
BYU. If they were going out to play BYU the first game out there, maybe, you know, BYU, pretty good program, pretty
Yeah.
good reputation. But Virginia and Nashville, just another home game over there, and then some Crips, you know,
Yeah.
leading up to the SEC schedule. You know, it's just, you know, that's.
I mean, he's going to have a chance
Yeah,
to get
no
his
doubt
feet
about it.
on the ground.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the thing, the thing that kind of I don't understand is spring practice is supposed to be about the very basics of football. That's what it's for. I mean, I'm not out there just putting somebody out there saying, these are the 5 linemen. Well, you were supposed to earn that position. And that you went into it in the spring is everybody is playing for the position. Not just, this guy, that guy's so good, he'll be ready when we're ready. No, that's not the way it went. I mean, and these practices in spring close for everybody.
Yeah, and they don't go every day.
Yeah.
You know, back when you guys had it, best I remember, it was every day
Every
until
day.
the time
Yeah.
allotted. Then you had your spring game, and that was
Right.
it. They spread this deal out over several weeks.
Well,
you know.
that was the fallout from when they limited the practice time, when the NCAA changed the rules and how many Well, the people figured out if you moved them a couple days apart, then you got some of that non-accounted for time. You got more of it where, you were doing this or that, and if somebody, if you had a bad days or a couple of bad days of weather, you didn't get shut out.
Yeah.
Like you would if you were still following that. We're going to do that for these 10 school days.
Yeah.
Of practice.
Well, I tell you what, I like driving a nail. I like to keep hammering.
Yeah, I think if
you like the continuity is what you like.
I think if they could
Right.
do it, the way they used to do it, that most coaches would agree with you. But they can't because of the limitation on practice hours that they're only allowed so many.
But I mean, you got an indoor place over there. I can take linemen and go in that indoor facility over there and work my linemen as good as anybody. But I mean,
But if you've only got 90 minutes you can spend in a given day.
I'm just saying, I could put all my days together.
Yeah.
And I could go inside or outside. If it's raining bad, I could be right inside, and they got a place over there that they can have practice.
What I'd hate about it as a basketball player is the fact that when they were having spring football, we was having steak every day. You see what I'm saying over there in the training room? And now you'd have to figure out what days you'd be getting the steak.
Yeah,
It might be once every 3 days or once every 4 days. It'd be a whole lot different. Hey, Donnie, I want to talk about the receivers because we got a guy back there with a cannon arm now.
Oh, we
he
do?
can throw it
Yeah.
all over the field. But Jalen Hyatt's gone. The Bluetick winner, nation's best receiver, 1,267 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's gone. Cedric Tillman's gone. Now, granted, he was hit with injuries most of the year, but he had 37 catches, 417 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They got Brew McCoy back. I guess that'd probably be their number one guy with experience back, would it not?
Quite possibly, yeah.
The transfer from Southern Cal, and then you can – Ramel Keaton.
Ramel Keaton's back. And they got to count on Squirrel White this year.
Squirrel
too.
White. I like the name.
The Squirrel.
Squirrel White. If he takes off, they'll run with that deal, won't they? Squirrel.
I mean.
Huh?
Yeah.
I can see goatees with squirrel on their T-shirts and sweatshirts.
He's
I
about
can
the
see a
size.
lot of NLI money on that deal, can't
Yeah.
you? Huh?
He's
Just with
about-
your name.
He's about the size of a squirrel.
I guess. But they've got to adjust to now a quarterback that throws it pretty hard.
They do, yeah.
Well, yes and no, but I mean the 3 guys you named who we're looking at to be the top 3 receivers. Last year they were working with him on the second team.
Mm-hmm.
That was why things worked so well in the Orange Bowl and why Brew McCoy and Squirrel White had good Orange Bowl games because they were used to working with him and making those catches. Because there were, I think I remember 2 that stand out in my mind where he threw it too hard and the first team receiver couldn't make the catch.
Yeah.
But Brew McCoy could.
They're used to receiving those rockets.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it'd be bad to be carried off the field after you receive a catch, wouldn't it, Coach? I don't know how many times I've seen that, but we may see that this year. We've lost a receiver because he caught a pass, right over.
Hit him right in the chest.
Well, the thing with him, you learn quick.
Unconscious.
He's out laying out there.
You catch it out of self-defense.
Yeah. You learn very quick to catch it out of self-defense.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this isn't a quarterback where you stop and take that half step, look over your shoulder and see what's going on. You better just be going to that spot.
That's
because if you have a prayer catching up with that long ball, you better be where you're supposed to be, because it's going to be 5 yards deeper.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Coach trailed the offensive line. They lost Jerome Carvin and Darnell Wright. And Darnell Wright had all SEC honors, first team. They brought in a couple of transfer portal guys. Andre Garrick from Texas, 3 seasons, and John Campbell Jr. from Miami. So they're not going to go with youth there, I guess. They're going to go with experience from the transfer portal.
Why would a guy transfer here from those 2 schools?
Well, I don't know. Texas, everybody's got Texas up there again, but they got Texas up there every year.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying, why would you do that?
I don't know.
I mean, to me, the transfer portal in some instances are good, but these guys that transfer a lot of times and back and forth and all, I don't get high on those guys.
How big of an adjustment is it for those 2 guys coming in here to adjust to a hurry-up offense like they run over here?
Well, it takes a while.
Yeah, I would think.
It takes a while, and because timing is so important in that. It's not like your quarterback's going to have all day to stand back there and find you. It's a spot that you got to get to, and it takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes a while for a guy throwing the ball to somebody. Even in the pros who works every day, it's hard to get that timing perfect.
Sure.
It's hard to get that guy's got on that out route. If it's a 8-yard, he's got to go 7.5 and turn at 8 and be right there. I mean, he's got to be right there because that's where the ball's going, and that takes. Well, you see it in the pros, just like I said. You see it every day that these guys come in, All-Americans and everything else. They're not in sync with the guys, and it takes a while to get that.
Yeah,
and a guy gets a little bit hurt or anything knocks him off of that route.
Even Brew McCoy, came in there from Southern Cal. It took somebody getting hurt before he worked in there, and man, he was a five-star guy. Took some time.
It takes a lot of time, particularly in a precision passing game. I mean, there's so many things that all got to go work together to make it go.
Yeah.
And there's so many reads they have to make, not just a quarterback, but that receiver.
Well, you got 3 every time you come up there.
Because
you got a first, second,
the way
and
Hyatt
third.
moves you around, you just don't have to know just one set of reads. You've got to know, because he may stick you, like we saw him do a couple times at Tillman, stick him behind the tight end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. A couple of other things to think about. Hendon Hooker, he could run the ball. He was a dual threat. Not so much with Joe Melton.
Nope.
He's more of a step back, even though he weighs 245 pounds, and you'd think he could brute his way in there. He's more comfortable, sitting back here and throwing the ball.
I don't think he likes to run.
I want to ask you about the offensive linemen, these guys that are coming in there. They've had more of a mix down at Miami and Texas, and hey, they're going to be coming in here, and it's going to be pretty much pass blocking, isn't it, up there on the offensive line? That's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for them.
It's going to be a lot of adjustment. I tell you that everything changes when you change schools. The snap count, everything's different.
Yeah.
And what one coach wants you to step with one foot, and the other coach wants you to step with the other foot, or it's just a different thing. I mean, it'd be the same thing as waiting on tables in here, and you've been working in a bar somewhere. I'm working on tables. I got a whole different deal here, and the thing is, that's why I don't understand. In spring practice, everybody wants to know who's catching the ball, who's doing. I want to know who's going to be on the defensive side that can stop the offensive side.
Yeah,
That's who I want.
We're gonna talk a little bit about their defense in a later segment here,
Okay.
and that's a good point, because that's a major concern going into next year, especially when you may not be able to put up as many points as Hendon Hooker put up, and you're going to rely more about they're going to be on the field more. Maybe you don't know.
That's
hey,
right.
Hey, it's time.
But if you don't have an offensive line, I don't care who's out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it's time to turn the page, and the next up is the local scoreboard with Donnie Moore and Mark It Down featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons. You're listening to the GoTee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Make the big play with MVP money tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early, credit cards that earn cashback reward points, and loans with competitive rates. Add all 4 MVP money tools to build your financial roster. It's everything you need to win financially.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Housing Lender. Restrictions may apply. Call for details. 800-467-5427.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality.
Wow.
For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew. And now it's time for the local scoreboard brought to you by Mandy B. Street Realty. Donnie Moore, before we get started, we want to wish everybody a happy Easter. Yeah, it's tomorrow.
We do, Mike.
It's tomorrow, and
sure is.
It'd be a rainy day for the Easter parade today, but tomorrow they say it's going to be pretty nice.
Supposed to be a pretty nice day tomorrow. So everybody, we wish you a happy Easter. And
I understand they moved the egg hunt back to tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that's
because of the forecast. They went ahead and rolled it to Sunday.
That was
that's
wise.
a good move because it's almost cold enough to roll snowballs out there this morning.
Cold and wet.
Yeah. Hey, is it affecting scores, high school games? We had a bad weather yesterday.
It sure is. Almost nobody played yesterday. In fact, I don't have a single score from yesterday. So at least we do have a few from Thursday, and and we've got a few more scheduled for today. But I don't think anybody's going to play much today. So I'll give you a few from yesterday, from Thursday anyway. High school softball action from Thursday. Maryville High School hosted Hardin Valley Academy in softball. The Lady Rebels won that one 5-0, shut out the Hardin Valley team. Congratulations to the Lady Rebs there. William Blunt hosted Heritage. That was a special evening. I think that was a strikeout cancer game right there. And Heritage won that one 7-0, shut out the Lady Govs right
Yeah, and we
there.
were talking about that before the show. You know,
Yeah.
Amanda Leatherwood just an outstanding job there at William Blunt's. Has
She
had some
does.
great softball teams up there, but they're going through some growing pains this
They
year.
are. They're struggling a little bit over there at William Blunt this season. And we'll have big game. We'll talk about Maryville High School hosted Alcoa. We'll talk about this one too a little bit later on. We've got Maryville in the house here. Maryville soccer team. They beat Alcoa 2-0, 2-0. And Marcus is going to talk about that one here in just a few moments. But that's the extent of the local scoreboard sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty. Everybody else was a DNP. Moving through baseball and soccer and softball, all that were scheduled to play yesterday. The tournaments, the Greenback William Blunt tournament, nobody played.
Well,
Weather.
Nobody wants to damage Charlie Paleo Field.
Right. Nobody wants to play on a wet, soggy field and then have to tear it all up and restructure it, all that. Baseball scheduled to play again today. Yeah, really. TKA is scheduled to go to Austin East today, and then the William Blunt Greenback tournament games scheduled today are at Greenback versus Chucky Doak. Then over at on Charlie Paleo Field today, William Blunt versus Lebanon, Alcoa versus Tellico Plains, and William Blunt versus Tellico Plains today. I don't think they're going to
We'll see.
try that. We'll see. Things might
We're
get a little bit
we're looking
better.
at the dark morning where the rain's coming through, and it may move out. They may get some of those games in this afternoon
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, UT played last night.
They did.
Quick draw
yeah.
some wonderful stuff, Donnie.
You're right. I'll give you a short humorous story right here. First, when I went to William Blunt as athletics director back in 99, 2000, Charlie Paleo came to me, and it had rained all night, and Charlie had a big baseball game scheduled for that day, and he came to me and he said, Coach Moore, he said, can you call over to the air base and get a helicopter to come over here and dry my field? He said, we got a game scheduled for this evening, and said, I need my field dried. He said, can you call over and get a helicopter to come over here and hover over the field to get that thing dried?
He should have.
Charlie, I said, it doesn't work that way. This is high school.
He should have called Stan Painter, Amanda Leatherwood's assistant coach at the time. Remember Stan coaching with Amanda back in the day? And they had that same situation, and he just decided to pour gasoline out there on the field. Remember that?
I do
and
remember
lit
that.
the dang
Lit it
infield
on
out
fire.
there. Lit the infield on fire to try to dry it out. Huh? Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I mean to tell you.
All games are subject to be played or not, weather permitting. So,
And the best chance something's actually going to be played is with that artificial surface over at UT.
yeah.
We'll expect him to try to get in that Florida game
You're
tonight.
right. Now we're going to pitch it over to veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature, Mark It Down. I remind you that you're listening to WKCE 105.1 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. Marcus, it's all yours.
Well, thanks, Donnie.
You're welcome.
That was another smooth transition right into it. And we're happy to have Maryville Soccer here with us this morning, and it's appropriate because every time I turn on the Premier League on Saturday mornings, the weather looks just like this in England. It's raining, it's dark, and I can't tell that it's summer. Coach Nick Bradford's brought in a couple players with him, and Coach, we're going to start right off. Donnie gave us the lead in here, the 2-0 win over Alcoa on Thursday night. Capped a really tough run on the schedule. You got to be glad to get that win and get it in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I would add real quick, Donnie, that we don't want anything but the wrong ryegrass on our field, not gasoline.
Exactly.
Hey, that was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Huh?
That would be
Gasoline's not a good fertilizer.
Lots of panic attacks there. All right. The capping off the week with Alcoa. We've had a busy stretch. We had, let's see, I think we counted about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in about 10 days, and we've talked to the guys like this might be one of the best Alcoa and William Blount teams on Tuesday that we faced or that I've seen in my 15 years here for sure. And they've had some competitive teams throughout, but these are some strong local teams. We have a strong team ourselves. Everybody's going to be tired at every point of the season. It feels like you just don't know how the roster is going to be made up each night. But we knew that we got through this week with a couple of wins under our belt, it would be a great accomplishment moving forward with a long weekend. So very proud of the guys. Yeah, it was a good win.
And it kind of mixed some tests within the region, but also outside the region. You're getting some opponents that are, I'm going to guess, are on there to help you have the experience for the postseason.
Yeah, no. The way the schedule gets made up, it's usually local rivalry, whether it's district or not. Alcoa being non. And Sevier County being non. And then next weekend we'll play in a Dobbins-Bennett sign seal tournament out of region. That would be a state sectional game if we ever met up. And we've got a tournament we play at Bearden, and we played Greenville, top team in AA. And so we try to make sure that we are battle tested because our district, the old adage, the district of death, that we've got a lot of powerhouses there too. So you have to be ready. And Lenore City, we drew them this year in district. They beat us in PKs. That's a new rule for our district. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball and having to make sure that we are ready every single game we come out there. Our district is loaded. So,
well, let me let you go ahead and introduce the guys you brought in this morning and what role they're playing on the team this year.
Sure. So you got Ben Ingliston to my right. He's our senior goalkeeper. Been with us for 4 years now. And Hayden Stringer is one of our wingers, senior guy, 4 years as well. Both of them were cut short freshman year with the COVID, the season just ending short and abruptly. But, yeah, three-year varsity players without having to be able to do it their first year. Count on these guys a ton. We've got 9 seniors in total, and all of them play a different role and a very important role. Yeah.
Well, that I think the importance of the keeper kind of came out with the Alcoa game because you end up with, I won't say miscommunication, but you end up with the free kick in the first half that gives you the lead, and Alcoa's changing keepers in and out, and it kind of showed up because that free kick went home.
Yeah, we didn't really know the circumstances. We knew that it was somebody different. But early in the game, I was watching it last night, they put a wall on a similar placed free kick that was way off. It wasn't the 10-yard minimum. It was about 15 to 20 yards away, and our guy hits a long cross in. Well, this next time, maybe I don't know what they were thinking, but there was nobody there. And whether Liam Mead was the guy that scored the goal, whether he mishit it or whether he meant to, he had a lot of pace on that ball, and it was tough to handle. And it was a good breakthrough for us because that game was kind of back and forth at the moment. Yeah.
Well, Ben, tell us how difficult is it to, given the quality of teams Coach just mentioned, it's got to be a little stressful to sit back there in the goal.
Well, yeah, but I'm usually not too stressed because I trust the guys in front of me, and we all have a good bond, and communication is the biggest thing. And so, with Ulysses, another senior guy who's been with me my whole high school career, and Luke Wilcoxon, another great kid, I got a lot of trust in front of me, and they trust me as well, and I think we all just kind of build off of that. And so, it doesn't get too stressful back there until late in the game, but yeah, we keep it really tight, and we're all really close, so it helps a lot.
So are you the defensive director? Are you directing the defenders, or is there somebody else making those calls for you?
Well, I mean, it starts with me, and not just the defense, just everybody on the field. And it starts with me, but everybody's got to communicate. Otherwise, it won't work. And even if it's from coach, everybody's trying to talk to everybody. And if you got your back turned and someone's coming in behind, you gotta let somebody know. So yeah, it starts with me, but everybody else still has got to do their job.
Coach mentioned the seniors. This has got to been a week you looked at on the schedule and been like, wow.
Yeah.
Coach, what are you doing to them? I've got senioritis, Coach. We're supposed to have days to sleep in.
Well, yeah. This break right here is really nice, and I don't really, to be honest, I don't want to break. I'm trying to get the most out of my last season, but I love playing against everybody, and playing for 3 years, 4 years, everybody around town, so it's always fun to play friends.
Hayden, how much does it mean when you're getting it, you're looking at it and seeing we're going to be playing a William Blount rivalry game, we're going to play Alcoa rivalry game? Was this a week you all were looking forward to just because you were getting to play those two teams?
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were definitely looking forward to the game, but we weren't expecting the results. We were definitely, like Coach mentioned earlier, these are definitely one of the best William Blount and Alcoa teams we've ever faced, or at least I've ever seen. But we were expecting more, but in the end we came out with the win. It was nice to just get out on the field, play, win, score the winning goal against William Blount. Hopefully I assisted a little bit against the Alcoa game, but yeah.
How much did it mean when you came off the pitch and you had that win against William Blount? Because like I said, it was an improved team, and this was not the same 1-0 win that went down a year ago. This was a much more offensive, stopping type of game rather than a delaying type of game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely was, and it felt really good. Trust me, it was the energy at the field, especially when we play at home. The field, it's just the energy, the atmosphere. Just everyone is we're all hyped up. We all want to win. But yeah, especially when that final whistle blew, we were all going nuts. It was crazy, and it was really nice, especially as I believe it's our second or maybe even first district win of the season. So. And
what's the feeling like when you get that first goal? When you see whether you're scoring it or whether it's you're on the field and somebody else scoring. When you get that first goal in and get a 1-0 lead, that's always a relief, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely is. You can tell by my celebration, I didn't really know how to celebrate. I just kind of kept sprinting past the stands. It's a great feeling, and I know everyone else was feeling the same thing I was at the time.
Ben, what does it do for you when they put that first goal up and it gives you that little bit of a cushion? Not that you need it, but that you've got that feeling that I'm not giving up I've got a little bit of leeway here.
Yeah, well, it's a big time relief for me, but also I think it's just a big confidence, and now you got momentum, and it kind of can kill. Just one goal can kill a game, and so if you've been all over them, and then you finally, just like in that William Blount game, we got that goal eventually. Was it early in the second half?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And so it's just a big momentum thing, and for the next 10 minutes, you'll be all over them just because you finally got that goal.
Does it allow you to take is it kind of like football where when you've got a certain lead, it allows you to play a little bit freer defensively, to take a risk or two here or there?
Yeah, but in a game like that, in a big district game, we're going to play safer in the back because, especially if it's only 1-0, we can't give up that goal. We got to keep that. We can't score. We got to keep that clean sheet. So I think it might allow us to be freer going forward, but in the back, we just try and stay even more solid so that we don't give them a single opportunity to come and score.
Okay, Coach. These are great answers.
Yeah, they're
fantastic, I can see why you like.
I don't need to be here. Right?
I can see why you like this team. For you, it's got to be a bit stressful to have these games lined up and be looking. What are you looking for from these guys as far as the progress you're looking for from them when you play William Blount, when you play Alcoa? You're going into a Ferry game. What are you looking to see develop and move forward as you go through these?
Well, we try. In high school, there's a lot put on the result. Of course, it's a postseason driven game, just like any other sport in our area. Every coach is going to say it matters what you do in May, and so you don't put a ton of stock into an early April win. But what we're trying to do is figure out how to merge that result with a great performance. and so have those memories in the bank, so you're not having to strive and find that performance, in early May. And we've put some good moments together. And when you get that early goal, like we've been doing, it allows you to see the opponent get stretched out a bit, and just like in football too, like their throwing game starts picking up when maybe they don't want to, and so in soccer, when they get vertically stretched, we've got a great energy about our players, and they understand how to quickly advance up the field and maybe catch them on the break. And I think that's what happened in the Alcoa game. We were pinned back a little bit. They've got a quality side. We were playing great defense, and we got the second goal by picking their pocket with some good pressing moments, and it allowed us to have some wonderful insurance. But we don't think there's ever going to be a game where we go in and you're expected to blow somebody out, 4 or 5-0. If that happens, it's a credit to how we played, because our schedule is just so tough in general. So,
well, you got the holiday and you've got this weather going this weekend that's kind of creating a break anyway in the schedule. But looking forward, I mean, you've got you're hosting Farragut next week, and then going to that Dobbins Bennett tournament,
right.
And then you start the next week off with Bearden. So, I mean, it's not like there's not even a cupcake. There's not even like a chocolate cake in that mix. That's just you're going straight into hard gristle steaks
but
right there.
It's like that's why I love coaching this group and being at Maryville in a AAA setting. Not everybody's fortunate to be in that situation, so we cherish it. We love the idea of competition. Only one team will be the champ in the end. We hope to be that one. But if we go through and we get to play, what we're saying, Farragut's and DB and Science Hill and Beard and the Hardin Valley and, the like, Gallenberg-Pittman, 3 out of 4 state championships, and you get in your postseason, you earn every bit of your success. There is not one single team that's going to come out there and be intimidated by us. So, hey, if they come to our place, we know it's an amazing venue, and it's going to be some real soccer. We love it. We love everything about our program. The boys give their absolute best. I tell them all the time, hey, you weren't here by accident, and you didn't get to pick your school. This is where you are. You live here. Cherish everything you get to do with Maryville High School soccer. It's a wonderful place to get to do it. I don't take it for granted at all, being the coach of these guys.
Well, let me ask you about we won't call them the hooligans, but you've got a strong student section. More than most schools, Maryville has a good soccer crowd that comes out for the games. That definitely makes home games interesting. There's an advantage there.
Well, we hope Ms. Hilton thinks so too. But no, yeah, we love the support we get. There's these guys have lots of friends, and girls program comes out. Lots of non-soccer oriented people just love the atmosphere, springtime, into the school year. So when that time changes and it gets a little warmer, and it's a wonderful place to come watch and spend your time. And you can bounce back and forth from softball to soccer. So yeah, the school, the student involvement with our games is tough to beat for sure. Yeah, we definitely thrive on it. You saw Thursday. I don't get to focus on that as much. Maybe the guys see it. But it was a good line along the hill, and yeah, we love it. Families come out too. Yeah.
Guys, what does it mean for you all when you're pretty confident if you come out in a home game that there's going to be a lot of people cheering for you on the field, and also creatively picking on your opponents? I'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome for us because a lot of the people that we see are even past players, so it's cool to see support from them, and so that's a big part of I love it, and it's cool to play in front of all my friends and family. So,
all right, Coach, let me give you a chance. Quick shout outs. I mean, we talked. It's a beautiful complex, but you don't keep it up all by yourself.
No.
So who is not setting fire to the grass
for
man.
You? We got to get – well, if we're talking about that, Joe Robinette, he's the caretaker of all facilities. John Chambers does our grass cutting. Don Feather, Coach Feather's dad, he paints it for us very kindly. But, yeah, we got a lot of folks that care about it. Shout-outs, though, quickly would be like Jordan Cooper, our awesome assistant coach, Rachel Rushworth-Hollander, another assistant coach for us, our JV guys, and all the guys going to be out here today. Man, we've got a great thing going for the long term too, short term and long term. I'll let you guys. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and who's running the concession stand?
Kit Tisdale, Coach Rushworth Hollander. Yeah, we got, and then other volunteers. So.
Because when you have a nice facility, it's one thing when the system or the parents can get together and provide the facility, but maintaining it and keeping it is always a yearly challenge.
Sure.
Takes a village.
It does.
Donnie will pitch in here because he knows firsthand how hard it is to keep some of those things up and going.
Sure does. I know.
Looking nice.
From experience.
So
it does indeed take a village.
Yeah, and guys, I'll close out because Coach mentioned it, and this is one when it comes up, I like to take advantage of it. Your seniors now, you've got your into this season. When you think back on that freshman year, does it make you appreciate this one even more because you can think back and think what those seniors had to go through that spring? Does it make this a little more special?
Oh, yeah. It definitely does, especially when it got cut short. I'll just mention what Coach said earlier. COVID, it completely destroyed our whole season. We had, maybe 2 games out of the 20 that we could have had. So yeah, definitely this year we're trying to cherish it. We're trying to, win state. That's the main goal. But we gotta take apart every game one by one. We can't just go straight to state. You gotta get through district, get through regions. Gotta make it happen though.
It's pretty much the same thing. If you can get through this district, you can get through state. They're pretty much the same thing a lot of times. But guys, we appreciate you coming in and visiting with us this morning. Coach, appreciate you taking the time as well. Especially getting guys in on a Saturday morning where it's all so beautiful and there's no temptation at all to stay in bed and sleep through it. So we appreciate coming in to visit, and congratulations on the rivalry wins this week. But, Mike, unless you want to toss in a question, we'll go ahead and turn the page.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, we'll turn the page then.
All right, Marcus, thank you. Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be up. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Dunkin' has what you need to conquer the day. So if you want to go from, I don't got this, to, I got this, well, then get this. A bold, smooth espresso drink from Dunkin'. Like a layered velvety caramel macchiato, a rich chocolatey mocha latte, or a creamy non-dairy oat milk latte. Because this day isn't going to conquer itself. No, you're going to do that. Take a sip of You Got This with Dunkin' Espresso drinks. Order ahead on the app plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary.
For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment, New Holland. Excellence in service.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality.
Wow.
For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Anderson Lumber Company's Player of the Week segment. And we're gonna guide ourselves a little off base here this morning, and Coach Trevor, we're going to.
We never do that, Mike.
we're going to continue our discussion a little bit about Tennessee football because I didn't get finished with it. And we're going to hit on some Tennessee baseball before we move on this morning. But let's talk about Tennessee's defense. That's an area of concern. They ranked 127 out of 131 teams across the country in passing yards last year. They allowed 290 yards on the average, and they surrendered more than 450 yards 3 times. We got away with it. Because of Hendon Hooker in the offense, and we put up a lot of points. But
for a number 6 ranked team in the country?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir. We got away with one right there.
We sure did.
I don't think fans really realize what kind of year Hendon Hooker had. I mean, it was an absolutely phenomenal year on his part. But we got Joe Milton back there this year. UT does, and this area is going to have to be improved, Coach Trail. We don't know what Joe Milton's going to do.
Well, I tell you what, you better work on some defense.
That's putting it mildly, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to see the ball thrown. Everybody wants to the hoopla and all that. But you better work on some defense. That
is a true statement.
That is you go back and you look into all the yardage that we gave up. I mean, it's phenomenal that we won as many games as we did.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you would look at that and say, well, there's no way that team won 10, 11 games.
Right.
And I tell you what, that's –
well,
that's unbelievable.
Hey, Marcus.
Think about that Vanderbilt game, because when you look at the stats out of that one where you've got something like over 500 yards rushing, you would expect if you have that kind of rushing total that your time of possession is going to be fairly dominant.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt had the ball like 10 more minutes than Tennessee did in that game because they were all long runs that Tennessee was breaking.
Yeah.
That offense is predicated on efficiency of scoring 6 out of 8 drives. But when it doesn't, I mean, that's what, like against South Carolina, where it dropped to like 5 out of 8, and the other guy's scoring 7 out of 8. That's where your defense inefficiency, you can't let the other guy score 7 out of 8 times.
Plus, Tennessee was number 1 in the country with only 20 seconds between running plays.
Yeah.
Between time of possession.
Donnie,
I mean, 20 seconds.
This is probably
Can you imagine?
This is probably a bad time to talk about defense after coming off a basketball season where we saw defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you make up your mind about what your concern is?
Yeah.
Because we spent like the last 6 weeks talking about how we put too much emphasis on defense, and now you're going to tell us we need to put some more.
Well, I just think we need a little defense in football.
I tell you what, I just don't think you can win consistently. Now, I'm not saying you don't have just like how many times are you going to have a guy come in his 5th year and have the year that Hooker did? I mean, you can't count on that in any way. I mean, and the thing is, it's a tough position to play in the offense. I mean, he excelled great but you can't count on that.
Oh.
And
I don't think there's any way under the sun that we're going to see Joe Milton put them kind of numbers up there.
I don't think
the
so.
odds against that is going to.
Oh, you.
And
I
I don't think
don't-
people are expecting
Well,
that.
they expect to score points. I
Yeah.
guarantee you.
Yeah.
But
And
if say he's not putting up those numbers, but if the result is that Tennessee's drives take 7 plays rather than 3 plays, that's not a bad thing for the defense. I mean, it might just be 1 more minute in Tennessee's offense off the clock.
Yeah.
But at least it's a minute of game time. The defense can still catch their breath, because how many times last year did we see them literally get a stop, come off the field,
And right
Tennessee
back.
score in 30 seconds, and they're right back out there.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why they're giving up another 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that it's going to be a change, and we need to be working on defense.
Oh, I agree. We need to be. They need to be better.
We need to work on defense, just to make the game a different kind of game than have. What if you go out there and it's a day like today? I mean, your passing game goes downhill if you can't run the ball.
Yeah.
You got nothing.
Well, the big concern with me would be, Donnie, would be the secondary. Because it's a passing game now in
It is.
college
It's got
football.
that.
And if you don't have a solid secondary, and I know a lot of that is based on what kind of rush are you getting up front.
Yes.
Are you giving the quarterback time to make those throws down there that's hurting your secondary? Yeah, I know it's a twofold deal, but the secondary has suffered the last few years, hasn't it?
It sure has, Mike. Tennessee used to be known as first wide receiver U, but then secondary U too.
Yeah, when Coach Trail was over there, I think
defensive backs used to be Tennessee's claim to fame.
Back in the early '70s, when Coach Trail was over, I think they led the country in interceptions. And I think that record stood for a long time, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think we had 40-something interceptions.
Yeah, you had Tim Priest back there.
Yeah.
And,
oh man,
that was the season he set the record.
Bobby Majors.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I was brought up under a coach, Frank Broyles. I guarantee you, we played defense.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got a chance to win if they can't score.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
all you got to do is score once.
That's right. All I got to do is kick a field goal, and we're home free.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I don't see how you can count on just like a day like today. I'd hate to know that my passing game was all I could do, in running the ball or throwing the ball.
Sure.
That's all I can do.
Or let's say Joe Melton has one of his erratic days,
Yeah.
and he's overthrowing people by 10 or 15 yards. I mean,
Which I've seen him do.
I just the basics of football is blocking and tackling.
Yeah.
And now that's the basics of football.
Yes,
and,
it is.
And if you can't do those two things, you're not going to win many games.
I think the program right now, they were a little bit skeptical, after Hendon Hooker got hurt and Joe Melton coming in there. They know that he was patient, that he'd shown improvement. And then everybody really jumped on the wagon after the Orange Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
If they hadn't come through the Orange Bowl and he hadn't played so well, now he played really well down there. And now going in, the expectations for him and I think the team were elevated because of that game. Do you not think, Marcus? Or
Well, I do. But I also think it shows how he's progressed, because they're not the same situation. But after year one, the image in your head was he didn't play that well in the first couple games, got hurt, and got replaced. The only memory you have from him that year is coming in the final minute against Ole Miss and having a disastrous 4 plays. So then you fast forward to this second season that went by, and he had mop-up rolls. He looked good in those mop-up rolls. He ends up stepping in and taking over the Vanderbilt game, has a great Orange Bowl. So it's a building process for him that he has looked better every opportunity he's gotten in season 2, where he didn't look that good in season 1.
Yeah.
Well, I think going in, you've got to downplay that, because you got to look at those two teams were not good teams.
Was Clemson?
Clemson got beat. I mean, the worst year.
Well, Troy tried to tell us Clemson in the ACC was horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
They had a terrible year. Their quarterback was awful. They had a terrible year.
Yeah,
and of course, Vanderbilt, they're Vanderbilt.
And we were all set up to say, well, we've got some players not playing in the Orange Bowl, and Hendon Hooker's hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, we were setting ourselves up before the game like, I don't know whether we're going to win this, but we're going to put it in our mind that it's really not all that important a game. But, boy, it certainly turned out to be an important game the way the quarterback Melton played, the way Tennessee played, and springboarding toward the next year.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But they also got to – if that were all true, totally true, you wouldn't be worried about the quarterback this year.
Yeah, well, I'm still worried.
But we didn't play nobody.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, you going to count that as a major in the deal? No.
Well,
and
most times, no, but you're talking about a Vanderbilt team that was coming off beating Florida.
Well, hell, everybody beat Florida.
But
hey,
where
we just can't beat them in baseball this year.
Where we start this conversation, I think that you are right in what Tennessee needs to accomplish for spring practice is they need to find the defense that's going to be able to. They don't have to stop Georgia, but they got to be better than they were last year.
Yeah,
definitely better. And everybody's always the quarterback. Do the quarterback. I'm telling you, blocking and tackling is what we need.
Yeah.
The simple things of the game.
And
fundamentals.
Going into the orange and white game Saturday, if you're a fan going over to the game, and you ask a fan, said, what are you looking for here today? I'm looking for California Nico. I want to see how he's going to play today and how Joe Melton's going to play and how the receivers are going to play. That's what most fans, and they're not going to think a thing about what you just talked about right there.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. That's the fans.
Because let's face it, that's fun, and it's the same type of fans that get the cheap tickets in center field. We're just out here to drink some beer and see the balls come deep.
Yeah,
that's what we're here for.
Right.
We don't care about anything else. We don't want to see the guys down there hitting. We just want to see the ball come over the fence out here to us.
Right. Well, talking about deep balls, let's talk about some Tennessee baseball. The Vols came into the three-game series with Florida this weekend. The Vols came in 21-8 overall and 4-5 in the conference and had a number 11 ranking. But so far, Donnie Moore, number 3 Florida, has had their way. A lot of runs for Florida, a lot of outstanding pitching, and a Tennessee team that just looks out of sync in all categories.
They really do, Mike. We've been talking about fundamentals, and it doesn't look like Tennessee has played fundamental baseball this weekend. They haven't looked good at all, in my opinion.
Well, let me ask you this: you coach baseball, and I wish Charlie Playa was here this morning. I want to know what was going on with the pitcher and the catcher last night because the catcher couldn't catch the pitcher's balls. I mean, I thought for a while I was watching a little league game, and the pitcher was so far advanced to the catcher. And the umpire was getting hit with pitches. Coach Trout I was talking about.
Yeah.
The umpire was probably saying, would you just catch a couple back here because I'm taking a beating. What was going on there? Was the signals messed up? What was happening?
Hard to say. I don't know whether the weather was having to do anything with it or not. I doubt it.
Who was catching last night, though? Was it one of the true catchers or was it the converted catcher?
Well, that's a good question, Marcus. I don't know.
Because remember, the first game of the series, we were using the catcher who's an outfielder who's converted to a catcher.
That's true. You're right. And it may have been.
Who showed great range on one of those foul pop-ups, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
he tracked down a foul
he's not like
pop.
A guy grew up that spent his whole teenage career catching.
Is he the only one they got?
They've got a couple, but I think it seems to be that's a position they're rotating by batting priority as to who's playing back there.
Yeah. Well, it looks like after that ball hit that kid, I'd give him some relief some way, put somebody else out there to play.
Charlie says Dickey was catching.
Sitting there he's trying to catch and hold his arm at the same time.
Coach Trail, we commented on this before the game, but Florida's played home run derby.
Yeah.
I mean, they've busted these games open with home runs, and they just haven't been soft shots over the wall. I mean, they're hitting Alcoa Highway out there, and on the other side, they're taking one bounce and going into the Tennessee River.
Yeah.
I mean, they are really teeing off on Tennessee pitching.
Well, the Tennessee pitchers are struggling to throw a strike. When you throw a little fastball right down the middle, and the guy swings a natural swing, not reaching or anything. I mean, just whoom, just like batting practice, and that's what it looked like. I mean, the pitchers were struggling so bad that they ended up just trying to throw a strike. They wasn't trying to put the ball anywhere. It was just to throw a strike.
Well, Florida did what Florida's done the first 2 games of the series was what Tennessee was known for last year, because you had a very tight game in the opener on Thursday night. Tennessee pulls the starter, makes a pitching change. The first 2 pitches from the bullpen are back-to-back home runs for Florida. Very similar situation last night. I don't think it was in the pitching change, but it was very soon after. And you get back-to-back home runs from Florida, and it goes from a manageable game to you're down by 6 because they put up 4 runs on those 2 swings.
Yeah, and that takes all.
You can't give up those back-to-back home runs like that. That was what Tennessee did to teams last year.
Florida's played 2 games here on the road without any real pressure being on them.
Absolutely none.
They've just walked. They've walked through both these games. And Tennessee right now, it's hard to see anything that they're doing really well. I mean, they're struggling at the bat, and they're struggling in the field, and they're struggling on the mound. Marcus, I guess my question is, how do you get out of it?
Well, I mean, the priorities, I think that they outlined going into this series, the first thing they wanted to do was to get the pitchers not have that lull starting off and not have them struggle the first inning or first couple pitches. I think from the starters they've seen that, because I think they've come off and started real well pitching, but I don't know if the bullpen has translated to that, because the second part was the bullpen had to get better because Tennessee's been outscored the last 3 innings by something dramatic number in SEC play. I think it was like 26-13 or something like that. I've forgotten what the stat was at the beginning of the week. But the other thing they want to do is defensive execution. Tennessee's made errors. They made errors on Thursday night. They had the pass balls last night. They're not playing as clean as they should be playing for college ball. Yeah,
and Coach Trell, I thought the announcers made a good comment last night for all the fans that showed up over there at that game. That they ought to treat them with free hot dogs and Cokes.
Yeah, I know.
Coffee, hot chocolate.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting to see the fans as the game went on. It says you got to the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and you could see people walking up the aisle.
Yeah.
Like, I've had enough. I've rode it as long as I'm going to ride it. If they're going to have a rally, they're going to have it without me. But the game, to a certain extent, when you got to the 6th inning on, was pretty well over with. So, hey, the road doesn't get any easier for this Tennessee team. Next weekend, they got a 3-game series at Arkansas, and Arkansas is ranked 5th in the country. And then the following weekend, they got a 3-game series with Vanderbilt, who's ranked number 4. And I think last night Missouri broke their 10-game winning streak. Is that right? Vanderbilt had a 10-game winning streak. Pretty close.
I believe that's right.
And Missouri had a 7-game losing streak. And they had a walk-off single last night.
Missouri swept Tennessee, then lost every SEC game up until last night. And the same weekend, Vanderbilt had won 10 in a row going since that same weekend.
Yeah. Well, they're going to they'll go out again today to try to play in this.
Try to play
3
it.
o'clock.
If it can't play it today, they'll probably just push it till tomorrow.
Yeah, and tomorrow looks good.
Yeah, it does.
So maybe they can pick up one win after the series. But you can't drop series
you
week in and week out and stay in the
You can't drop
league.
a home series in the SEC.
Did I hear that Tennessee hasn't been swept at home since 2011?
Is that right?
I don't know if that may be right. I don't think they've been swept by Florida since 2011.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Yep. Hey, it's time for a break, and when we return, it's Sports Headlines with Goatee Sports Page veteran Donnie Moore and the Tennessee Smokies Spotlight. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
Make the big play with MVP Money Tools from Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union. With KTVA ECUs, contactless debit card, direct deposits that hit up to 2 days early, credit cards that earn cashback reward points, and loans with competitive rates. Add all 4 MVP Money Tools to build your financial roster. It's everything you need to win financially.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Equal opportunity housing lender. Restrictions may apply. Call for details. 800-467-5427.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. For over 50 years.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern at downtown Maryville. It's Mike Edwards, and it's time for the sports headlines with Donnie Moore. And before we get to that, we're talking about Vol baseball and Tony Vitello. You know, he really likes to go out there and fire his team up by getting on the umpires every once in a while. But, you know, when you're getting beat 7 or 8 runs, it's hard to do that, isn't it, Donnie?
Yeah, he just he's been pretty mellow over on the sidelines. He's pretty mellow when he gets in your tail whip.
Yeah, I mean.
He's getting used to it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that's sad, too.
That's sad
yeah.
there.
It's sad
I think at times he's like, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
How many pitchers did he run out there last night? 4 or 5?
He needs
his bullpen's pretty deep. But
he needs an escape hole in the dugout where you can just kind of run down in that hole and wherever that hole takes you. Yeah, trap door. Donnie, it's all yours for the headlines.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Well, we've got a few headlines today that we can run out here for you. The Division I women's college basketball national championship game between LSU and Virginia Tech may have gotten all the hype last weekend, but actually 2 more women's college basketball championship games were played as well, both in Dallas. In the Division II title game, number 1 ranked Ashland University won over number 2 Minnesota Duluth 78-67. For the 37-0 Eagles' 3rd national championship in program history. Eagles coach Carrie Pickens became the first woman in history in Division II to win the Natty as a player, an assistant coach, and a head coach. That happened in 2013, 2017, and this year, 2023. The only other unbeaten women's team in the NCAA, finishing at 33-0, the Transylvania University Pioneers claimed the D3 championship over Christopher Newport, 57-52. The captains of CNU finished their season at 32-1, falling one game short of pulling off an incredible double natty.
Yep. I was going to say the men won it last weekend.
Their men won the national championship on March the 18th. Now imagine how that would have been a tremendous honor, wouldn't it?
You know, and that's a program we used to see.
If I knew where they were, I would.
Well, Christopher Newport used to be in the USA South with Maryville College.
They're in
and it was
Lexington, aren't they?
No, they're up in Newport News, Virginia.
Newport News, Virginia. That's right.
But it's a public school, it's not a private college.
Yeah.
And they receive state money, and that campus has been growing. I mean, it feels like it's doubled in size every 3 years.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Only one game short of winning a double national championship.
But they've moved on up to one of the power conferences in the Northeast, and it's showing because that was one of the reasons was they wanted the exposure and that higher level of competition. Mm-hmm. And
so they were 65-1 combined this year, their men's and women's team.
Wow.
They must have had Mike Edwards playing for them.
You mentioned Transylvania, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Transylvania won the women's D3 championship.
Why aren't they named the Vampires?
They should be. That's what I thought.
I'd be voting to change that name to the Transylvania Vampires. Huh?
The Transylvania.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sure the Methodists will go along with that.
No, they wouldn't. That's a Methodist school, isn't it? Well, moving on to another article here, Lucy Foyt, wife of four-time Indianapolis 500 winner A.J. Foyt, passed away Wednesday in a Houston, Texas hospital following a brief illness. She was 84 years of age. Together, A.J. and Lucy raised three children, A.J. Foyt III, Terry, and Jerry Foyt. Later, they adopted their grandson, Larry, who is now president of A.J. Foyt Enterprises, the IndyCar Series team Foyt started in late 1965. Mike.
Yeah, you know, these wives, they get a lot of historical perspectives too, because when you go down to Victory Lane, AJ was there 4 times. You know, they take the picture, and you know your wife is always there.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm going to go back. He won his first Indy 500 in 1961. I think I was 11 years old. And I even knew where I was. I was on a paper route with somebody listening to it on the radio. But anyway, she was 23. She was 23 years old when he won that first Indianapolis 500 in 1961.
And she died at 84.
Yeah, I think she kind of stayed in the background, you know, there for years and years. And he's got a farm down there in Texas. He's got horses and so forth. He just likes to ride his tractor around down in there for the most part. But he comes across as a pretty rough old codger. You know, he either likes you or he doesn't like you.
My gosh, if he's racing in 61 or whatever. I mean, that was a dangerous.
You're darn right,
I mean,
boy.
That was some dangerous things there.
Yes,
that was.
And you know, he used to tell people. He says, "Don't ever let these old timers tell you that they was never scared." He says, "Every time I got behind that wheel back then, I was scared."
Well, of course.
You know, he just never knew. He saw a lot of his drivers, you know, that never made it. In '58, when he was there, his first year at Indianapolis. They had the bad accident up on the third turn. Pat O'Connor was killed, and Pat O'Connor took him under his arm, you know, that month of May, showed him all the ropes and everything. And after that, he never got close to another race car driver his whole career. Now, you know, he talked to him and everything, but he never got close to anybody because he just couldn't handle it, you know, after someone passed. And it was really dangerous back in those days. How many years you been married, Coach?
140.
140? 70 apiece?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's been a long time, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think I'm 68 years.
68. We're going to be 50 in June.
Well, see.
Evan, I'll be 50 in June. Where are you at, Donnie?
I'm 45.
45.
Y'all got a long way to go.
Yeah, I know it.
I'm the
Mere
Cub in
children.
here. I don't think my number even needs to be thrown up there at 13.
13, my God, he's still under the honeymoon.
Yeah, that's why.
Lord,
it
have
got
mercy.
It got it pretty well. I'm
Good
sitting over
gosh.
here, I'll tell you what.
He is. He's being nice.
Moving on.
Yeah.
What's
Back to
next
you,
on
Donnie.
this list?
All right, back to me. Brooks
got-
Koepka leads a rain-soaked Masters after 2 rounds of play at the legendary Augusta National Golf Course. Catch the action today on CBS and ESPN.
Well, they just closed out the ESPN on the second round.
Okay.
And Tiger has made the cut at +3.
Good. Tiger made a cut. That's good.
The cut line's +3.
Plus
and that was,
3.
He
and
shot a
made
73. He finished with a 73.
Good. I'm glad you've got the update right there. Players are competing for a purse of $15 million and, of course, that lovely, lovely green jacket.
Yeah.
I understand this year, though, if you win, you have to help go out there and cut up some fallen timbers and stuff.
Yeah, bring your chainsaw if you're going to the Masters.
Hey, there's nothing any more
week.
Easter than that bright green jacket, though. You know
Oh,
it?
yeah. Easter egg.
Yeah.
Precisely. So, Dolphin star wide receiver Tyreek Hill says he plans on playing 3 more seasons in the NFL for a total of 10. Nice round number. Then retiring and transitioning into professional gaming.
What is that?
Yeah.
Professional gaming.
Gaming.
You know.
He wants to make video games.
Oh.
They make money at that now.
They
People
sure
go to
do.
watch this stuff, watch kids play video games.
That's right. He'll spend his first 6 seasons with Kansas City before being traded to Miami in March of 2022 when he responded with career bests in targets with 170, receptions with 119, and yards with 1,710. Hill also scored 8 total touchdowns for the Fins. If he stays healthy, looks like Hill has things all figured out.
He's got a plan, and I think I like the guys that go with the career plan of what they'd like to do and work towards that, rather than I'm just going to go until I can't.
Yeah,
because I think when you get to that I can't do it stage of career planning, you leave disappointed.
I do too. I think so too. I think he's got it figured out, and I encourage that. I'm all for it. I think he does well. Kyle Larson pulled away on a restart with 14 laps remaining and easily won the NASCAR Cup Series race at Richmond Raceway on Sunday. Larson watched old videotapes of his 2021 season earlier in the week to remind him of his confidence, and it worked, resulting in his 20th career victory in NASCAR's Top Series. Josh Berry followed Larson to the finish line, while the rest of the top 5 was filled out by Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, and Kevin Harvick. This weekend, the boys go racing on dirt at Bristol.
On mud.
Yeah, it's going to be mud, isn't it?
It's Sunday night.
God.
That's right. It's Sunday at
If
7
you ain't
now.
in the league.
Waller car.
Yeah.
That's it, Waller Racing.
I hope
They
it
don't
got-
have windshield wipers, do they, Mike?
I don't think
No,
so.
they just got that film on there that they
Hell
can
no,
peel off every
No,
time
you
they
just,
go to the pits.
you stick your head out the windows while outside window there and look on out there. See
Yeah.
You get your car turned to an angle like this so that you can see out.
Yeah. You know, back in the IndyCar days when they ran on dirt, you know, they ran
Yeah.
their series, and that's where a lot of guys got
Yeah.
killed, was on dirt.
They sure
That was part of
did.
their series, but when they got those holes in the dirt, they would name, like at Langhorne, the first turn when they got the big hole down there,
Yeah.
after a few laps, they called it Puke Hollow. Puke Hollow, because you'd hit one of them dirts, and next thing you know, your car was outside the track upside down, boy. You know?
Yeah, no doubt.
There are going to be some puke hollows up there at Bristol this weekend with mud.
I think you're
Probably
right.
on every turn up there.
Woo.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for this week's sports headlines. Now let's bring the Tennessee Smokies spotlight into focus. Back to you, Gunner.
All right, we're back on the Goatee Sports page, and this is Mike Edwards, and I'm here with Coach Ray Trail, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Donnie Moore. Let's talk a little bit about the NCAA tournament. It's history now. Connecticut defeated San Diego State 76-59 to win their 5th national championship. An impressive, dominant tournament for Connecticut. Not a single game in their championship run was decided by single digits, Marcus. This team did not have an off night all the way through. Some games got a little bit tight, but then they just pulled away from them. Same thing happened in the championship game. Your thoughts on their championship run? Huh?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was impressive as they were and fun to watch offensively. I know it's going to kill you, Mike. They were a really good defensive team.
They really were.
They were really good defensively,
Yeah.
and I had not realized. I guess we don't see the Big East like we used to, but I was really impressed with how good they could play defensively.
Yeah. And you know, we've talked about it on the show here, Coach Trail, is that you like to have that team that's balanced.
Oh, yeah.
They were good on offense and they were good on defense. Boy, I mean, they had both categories covered, and when you got both categories covered, you win championships.
That's exactly right.
I think that was the formula for them. And you got San Diego State, to be honest with you, I felt like at times I was watching UT play. You know, they were a defensive-oriented team. There wasn't any transition game from them. They went into these laws on the offensive end. It looked like a Tennessee team there for a while, did you not? And then they scored 59 points to kind of make it even look more like a Tennessee team, scoring in the 50s. And that's what you had, a balanced team playing a predominantly defensive team.
That's right.
Yeah.
I watch them every year. I watch this. Some teams are hot going into it, and they just walk through it. Then others get up there and struggle, like the team there. They got beat by Connecticut. I mean, Connecticut beat them, but they had won the game before with 1 second on the clock.
Yeah.
And so they were just lucky to be there.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Connecticut was a class team.
Hey, the best team won the game.
Yeah.
Hats off to San Diego State for their run. I mean, they deserved to beat there. They upset a lot of teams, and it was a great season for them, but they ran into a team that was hot. And, Donnie, this was a UConn team that struggled during the year. You know, they didn't get off to a real good start.
They weren't even rated.
No. And they were struggling. They were struggling in the Big East Conference, and that's not the conference you want to be struggling in because it's a basketball conference. You can find yourself in a heap of trouble, and then all of a sudden they just kind of turned it around, and they peaked when they needed to peak, the tournament.
And they were not just winning ball games, squeaking by. They were beating teams unmercifully.
Yeah. Marcus, free throw shooting. I mean, they done a lot of things well, but free throw shooting, 24 for 27 in that final game, and 88.9%.
They missed 3.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
I think one guy missed 2.
Yeah.
That
big guy.
Yeah, missed 2 of them up there at one time, but they were almost automatic at the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that impressed me, I think San Diego State had cut that game down to single digits there late. Looked like, hey, you know, maybe their defense can hold and they can, you know, guy comes down there and hits a 3, and then they get a turnover, and another guy comes down there and hits a 3, and the next thing you know, you're back up to 11, 12.
Out of control,
I mean, absolutely no pressure. They didn't feel it. Just looked like they were on a mission.
Yeah.
Huh?
They were in the groove.
Yeah.
And you know what? There was a part of me that was watching them and how they could respond that really wondered what it would have looked like to have seen Alabama playing UConn for the championship because they had such similar capabilities.
They really did.
I was thinking in my head that would have been a matchup that would have probably come down to a last shot type of situation.
Yeah. And
Alabama would have loved to have been there.
I'm sure they would have been. They didn't get there. Just like everybody else, you only got 2 playing in the end. But I kept thinking, you know, if I was drawing up the brackets for that Maui Invitational next year, I'd be looking at that one on paper.
That'd be a great matchup, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And you look what the Hurley family's done in basketball, great basketball family. And here's Danny Hurley, what a great job that he's done there at UConn to win their 5th national title. And then you talk about the men's and women's programs. Look what Connecticut has done. This was their 5th championship. Lord, they won 5. I think out of 6 Final Fours, they won 5 of them, I think, and which is remarkable. And then the women's program also is all the championships they've won. But Connecticut comes from not a football league. They don't play much football in that league. Big East,
No.
Coach Trail, that's all basketball.
That's all basketball.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's some great teams. Syracuse used to be a great team, and Connecticut and boys and girls at Connecticut. I'll tell you that right now.
Syracuse used to play a little football.
Yeah. Football.
Yeah, there's some.
They play.
Yeah, but Syracuse isn't in the Big East anymore. They're in
No.
the ACC.
That's right.
So
That's true.
You
They
got
used to be.
St. John. Now, Butler, they play football, but it's not major college
no.
football, And some of them may do that. Villanova, I don't know. Some of them. But,
Well, most of them you don't even know about.
right. But it's basketball.
Yeah.
And that's a basketball league, They just concentrate on basketball. And
Oh,
that's where they put the money.
That's right.
They put the money in the basketball program. Hey, let's talk about LSU and Iowa on the women's side. LSU won their first NCAA women's basketball championship by defeating Iowa 102-88. And Kim Mulkey, the coach at LSU, only 2 years she's been there.
Yeah.
And she's got her a national championship. And
When she got hired, she looked around, she said, I don't see any banners. She said, I'm going to change that.
Well, she did.
She
quick.
did.
And she won 3 championships there at Baylor. But to me, it just seemed like, Marcus, a little bit more of total LSU against Caitlin Clark at Iowa. And they just had a few more weapons in this one than Iowa had.
They did, and Iowa did not shoot the ball as well as they did in the semifinal. There were some shots that you could see they put up expecting to hit that didn't go down in the championship game. And maybe that's tired, maybe that's nerves, maybe that's just a different day. But there were a couple times where you could see Iowa players, and not just Clark, react with the look on their face that said that ball should have gone in. And I don't think they ever got over that in the first half. I think they played pretty even in the second half, even made a little bit of a push. But it was definitely, no doubt, LSU's day because anything they put up there was going in.
Yeah, 58% from the field and 75% from the three-point line.
I'm pretty sure if Coach was walking off during halftime and had thrown that ball backwards, it would have bounced into and gone in.
Yeah. Coach Trell, LSU's another one of these teams, if you'd have said after Tennessee beat LSU in the SEC tournament, they're going to win a national championship, you would have thought, not this team, maybe on down the road.
Right. Well,
but by golly, they scored 59 points the first half, which was a championship game record, and 102 points for the game, also a championship record. So
I would have given anything if South Carolina hadn't got beat and they could have played in the championship.
Yeah.
That was the 2 best teams now that are going in.
Yeah.
But I guess that didn't work out, but that would have been a good game.
Yeah. We saw a lot more balance. We've said on this show for years that, there's 4 or 5 teams that can win the national championship in women's, but the women's game is getting a lot more balance, a lot more parity in that tournament. They had 19,482 people at the championship game, and they drew 350,000, Marcus, for the entire tournament. So a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of enthusiasm going in, and I think because of parity, that shows in the numbers, people watching.
Yeah, and you want to say it's on par. It's not quite on par yet, but it's getting closer. You'll know when the NCAA feels comfortable about doing neutral venues for the first 2 rounds that it has reached that point. But it works. It's a model that works well with, those top 16 hosting and guaranteeing yourself an attendance that first weekend. I think that really, really helps them build their tournament. And I thought it was good. I didn't watch it as much as I did the men's because the men's was so full of upsets, but I enjoyed watching the games that I could watch, and it was entertainment. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, as far as the television people viewing, 9.9 million people watched the championship game. I think a lot of that had to do with Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
They wanted to see her because of all the hype that she had.
She'll be back next year.
She'll be back next year. was all over
No,
with.
no.
She was like, hey, I am who I am. I'm a ghetto-type player, and you're going to get what you see. And really the coach, after the game was over, Mulkey, she really didn't have a whole lot to say about it either. Offered it. And then Caitlin Clark handled it pretty well. She just said, well, I didn't even notice it. I went over. I was just going over there to shake people's hands, and I was going to get out of there.
Well,
but,
even after Caitlin saw the video, despite what she said the first time, she didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I mean,
I guess.
But this is somebody who's made that gesture several times during the tournament herself.
Exactly. Now, when I first saw it, I commented, my wife and I were watching the game, I thought, well, that's really bad. I mean, that's not a good look right there, what she's doing to this particular player. And then I remembered, because I watched some of the South Carolina games, she was making some of those facial deals to some of the South Carolina players. But Greg Doyle, who writes for the Indianapolis paper, I read his article. I like to read his articles. And he made mention that it was a bad look for both players. It was a bad look. And I think that kind of summed it up. I mean, to me, the game is bigger than those two players. The scene is bigger than those two players. The moment is bigger than those two players. And even though you want to kind of say, hey, it's about me right here, it's about our deal, and we're going to kind of rub it in. Hey, listen, as years go by, as good a player as Caitlin Clark is, and as good a player as this other girl is, going to be forgotten. And people say, oh, they're never going to be forgotten. They're never going to be. I'm going to tell you right now, you can go down a street right now and you can go into these high schools and say, hey, guy, to different players, men or women, and say, hey, tell us a little bit about John Wooden. Tell us about, the number of championships. You know where he go? I don't know.
No.
And when John Wooden left the game, there's not anybody anywhere that said he's going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
But he has, to a certain extent, he has been forgotten.
Yes.
But I just thought the article that he put forth was that both of those girls lost in the moment by what they did, and then I get to thinking about sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Where are we at on sport? Where are we at on sportsmanship now?
To me, the sorriest sport on there was the coach, LSU coach. I don't like her. I don't like her attitude. I don't like her, and I think the whole game, even when they were ahead, 90-something and all, I mean, she's out there on the court, showing her butt, and I just thought, I don't like her, and I don't like the way that her players are responding to other people just like she does. That's where they get it from.
Yeah. And
that's, I really don't like that approach as a coach. And she's, even though she's a coach, she's still a lady. And that, just like the coach from Iowa, she was a lady and acted like a lady. I mean, it's a ball game. It's not life and death. And I just think she just overplays the whole thing. She walks that sideline and pointing them fingers, and I you're ahead 100 points here. You could sit down over there and act like somebody with sense.
Yeah. Well, in old school, Donnie, we got some old school people here.
We do.
We were preached at a lot about, hey, win with class.
That's right.
Win with class. Win like you've been there before.
Win with class, lose with grace.
That's right.
Don't have to be happy about it.
No, of course you don't.
If you want to get upset, go down to the locker room and destroy it if you want to. But
act like you've been there before.
Yeah, in front of everybody else.
That's what I was saying.
But I don't know where we're at now. I don't know where. There's a lot of individualism in the game, and Marcus, you're a little bit more recent than we are. Why don't you catch us up on where we're at right now?
Well, you can look at it either way. This is what I say. This is not amateur athletics. This is college basketball, and it's on a scene and stage, even in the women's game, that we can't really call it amateur athletics anymore. So this is entertainment at this stage. So they may not think of it this way. I view it the same way as the stuff with WWE. It's theater at this point. It's the same stuff you see in the NBA. My concern for it is, to me, it shows a sign of where these athletes use that I'm an underdog, everybody's against me motivation.
Nobody expected us to win.
Right.
Nobody expected us to be
I'm
here.
like, if you'd asked me at any point in this tournament, could LSU play for the national championship, I don't think I'd have ever said no. I mean, they were number 2 team in the country for half the season. So to come off with the everybody thought we couldn't do this, and that to me, that's the motivation within the player and the team, and the fact that they can't distinguish that when they get out in reality and have won it, that's concerning to me.
Yeah.
Because that's not the case. That's I don't know who they were addressing that to.
I think they were addressing that to South Carolina. South Carolina didn't think we could win this because they'd been drubbed by them twice, I think, during the season.
So it's like that's what concerns me. I don't think it's good for the sportsmanship as an example to the amateur athletes and to high school players, middle school players. I mean, I don't want to see somebody in Biddy League doing that over when they don't even keep scores type of games, but that's what you're setting yourself up for. And the players and coaches that don't think that happens, I mean, they can claim to be Charles Barkley, not a role model, but the fact is you are whether you want to be or not. So,
Coach Trail, I can tell you this: if that had happened back in our day, I'd hate to think what practice would be like.
Oh, God.
If the year was over, it wasn't over for you.
Yeah, no.
Because you were going to be called in immediately, and you had some extra work to do, pretty much. And that's the way you all saw it.
Yep.
Coaching when you were a player and when you coached. Yeah, they didn't want that look for their program.
No.
Coach Mears didn't want that look for his program, and I know you all didn't want that look for your football program.
No.
But that's changed a little bit.
Well, they give them more leniency.
Yeah.
And plus the newspapers and everything dig deeper. They want this kind of stuff to happen, and it's not good for the sport, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and there's social media out there that shows all of it.
That's all that does.
Donnie Moore, it's been a busy morning here on the Goatee Sports page. A lot of ground covered. Blow that whistle, buddy. Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael at the Loud Media, our host, the Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Coach Ray Trail, Marcus Fitzsimmons, Troy Provo-Heron, and Brian Johnston at Goatees. Until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.